Hello, my name is Dr. Maya Byfield. My business is The Phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited to be here in Orange County because it's where I live. I live in Apopka, Florida. And I decided to make this business because I saw a need for underrepresented students to be successful in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And the best way I can do that is just provide products for parents to prepare them, whether it's a book or online STEM camps or just video podcasting. My goal is to transform this community, especially those who are underrepresented. And the way to do that is to help parents understand their children's minds and basically develop them at different stages of their lives to be prepared for a successful STEM career. Thank you so much. That's why I'm here. Hey, 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 it's the phenomenal STEMist. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have, I can probably say, my cousin on the line. On the line. I hope everyone can hear me. Before I get started, I want to do a little bit of homework just to remind you that the book Phenomenal STEMist is on Amazon now. Don't forget to take a look at it. If you have anyone that you know that you would like as a Christmas gift to help them if they have a desire to be in STEM, check it out. You'll find it on Amazon, The Phenomenal STEMist. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Maya Byfield, Phenomenal STEMist. It's a great channel. I have lots of people coming on, and I've been doing this for the past. I can't believe it. I looked online in my memories. I've been doing it for the past 5 years. It's been great. It's been great. It's been great. I've seen it evolve over time, but it's amazing. I have with me uh Pedrito Maynard-Zhang. He's a software development engineer or developer engineer, research scientist, and in the concept of software and development. And so I'm just excited to have him. Hey, Pedrito.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I see a couple of you watching. Feel free to tell me where you're watching from. Um, Dr. Pedrito Maynard Zhang has a degree in electrical engineering from Walla Walla College, Walla Walla University. And he went from there and he moved to Stanford, where he received his PhD, I believe, in computer sciences. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Right. So he has the skill set and the education to really be excellent in engineering and computers. And so I figured, what better stage? And I'm just so appreciative for you to be on here to talk to me about your process as to how you became an engineer and a computer scientist. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's a
All
pleasure.
right. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Can you see the resemblance? We're cousins. Third cousins, mind you, meaning our parents are first cousins. We have the same great grandmother. I was just talking to him about how much I believe our generation has in common, and it's
Yeah,
just great to see big us doing big things. Just great to see it.
it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get right into it.
All right.
When did you fall in love with your discipline?
So I fell in love with I knew from around the age 12 that I wanted to do computer science. My family was in Puerto Rico at this time. My dad was teaching at Antillean College there. I was just learning Spanish. I was in this classroom, new to the school, and inside of this classroom, my main teacher who taught um, the sciences and the maths and PE and some history too. They had these two really old IBM clone computers sitting there.
Ah,
We weren't teaching with them, but they were just sitting there. And he said, "Yeah, anybody who wants to play on them can."
wow.
So I and a couple others, we sort of started banging away, and I taught myself basic. I fell in love basically with the computer. Figured out how to hack the thing, made a little Pac-Man game using. I mean, I would be very embarrassed to show the code now, the spaghetti code, but I mean, the thing. I was in love, and that's where I said, I want to do computers when I grow up. Um, I asked. So I was planning to figure out how to do computer science or computer engineering in college. I spoke with a cousin who I did another cousin who I older cousin who I didn't know very well either, but my parents knew, and who is in engineering as well. And he said, "Well." I also told him that I knew I was going to go all the way to get the PhD. That was, well, that's of course that's what everybody does. That's what my parents did. That's what I mean.
That's what
It
the
was
family
that's
does.
what
What
the
we
family
do.
does. It would never cross my mind to question that. So he said, if you know that you want to do grad school, then why not consider doing the broader electrical engineering in undergraduate, lay a really solid foundation, which gives you a lot of flexibility and really solid skills. And then when you go to grad school, you can focus in on the computer science that you know is your passion. So that's
Wow.
how I ended up choosing, even though I knew from an early age I wanted to program computers. I started with electrical engineering in college, which was fascinating. I got a math minor on the side because I love math, always have loved math. And then when I went to grad school, I then focused in on computer science with a specialization in artificial intelligence, which was another passion of mine, integrated with my CS.
Wow, wow. So what I'm hearing is number one, you took an opportunity given to you.
Oh yeah,
Even if it is in a small island of Puerto Rico with
oh
an
yeah.
old computer somewhere stocked away. They said you could use it. You took an opportunity. Number
I
one,
went for it.
you went
Yes.
for it. You went for it. And even if you were 12, you went for it. Number two, I'm hearing you you listen to advice. That's so
Role,
key.
role, role models are so amazing and critical and make such a difference. And I feel very fortunate to have had that advice in my life. It worked out very well for me.
Yeah, and that's why I have this show. I have this show
Yeah.
right here because we need more modeling. And there's some kid out there is going to take your advice today. And so thank your model, your uncle, your cousin who gave that advice, but it took you to listen to it. That's the key
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you fell in love young by just tinkering and tankering with computers, and you knew about it
Yep.
that you were going to do that from a young age.
Yeah.
You didn't focus in on it in college. You did that focus in grad school. Okay, so you went through some rigor, right? Electrical engineering is a rigorous field of study in college,
Yes.
and computer science is a rigorous study at Stanford, which is one of the
Yeah.
top Ivy League
Yeah.
schools in the country, right? So
Yeah.
what tools did you use to discipline yourself to succeed?
It's a really great question. I um one is I give thanks for my family because my family um raised me to really value education.
Yeah.
Education, as you know, runs throughout our family as being a very critical, important thing. And so I was motivated to study, to do well. And I think that opened a lot of doors for me later on. Stanford wouldn't have happened if I hadn't really done the focusing that I did in my undergraduate studies. Um, and subsequent jobs and things that opportunities that I've had wouldn't have happened if I hadn't worked really hard on each of those opportunities that I had before. So developing a very uh, effective study habit was one of the things that I think put me in a really good stead. I did not. It was important to me to take ownership of my studies. Um, I think I may have gotten a reputation with some of my professors for fighting for every credit point, which can
Hey.
which could sound a little bit sorry. Some of those people are annoying. Those students. You teach, so I've also taught, and there are those students who come and they fight for every point. Here, come on, look, get to let's get to the main point of what you're learning here. But for me, it was more than just about fighting for points. It's making sure I understood. So I would go into office hours. Sure, I may have been doing really well in the class, but I wanted to make sure I understood everything. And when I did get something wrong, I wanted to understand why I got it wrong and what I needed to do to fix it so that I could do it better the next time. And so I applied that approach throughout everything I did, and that sort of consistency and dedication basically created a way of studying and learning that worked out for me because it allowed me to not only do well by default, but very quickly learn how to fix those places where I wasn't doing well. So I never got stuck in a trap where, oh, this is getting out of control and going down the hill, and it adds up.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We talk about like it's like I'm looking at my twin. Like I'm looking at my twin. And I want the people to understand like this is not a family that just been thinking education this whole time. I was talking to Pedrito earlier about how my our great grandparents were farmers. They're farmers, like, and when my great grandfather died prematurely, like there was a drastic shift to education.
Mhm.
That's what his grandfather and his brothers went heavily into trades,
Mhm.
and my grandmother and her grandsisters went heavily into service education and nursing, pretty much, and social work
Mhm.
and law. Like they went to college, which is rare in the 30s, very rare
Yeah.
in that time. But it was a transition that they made. The transition that they made right then and there in the 30s shifted our whole family dynamic. It's not like it's been generations after generations after
Yeah.
generations. That one decision like shifted our family dynamic to where everybody is thinking we're going the education route. And then we're
Mhm.
going hard with it. Like the way I'm thinking, you're saying you're an advocate for yourself. That's what you
Yes.
were. And
Yeah.
when I go to my office hours, the people that come to me in my office hours, for the most part, who naturally are the ones that are already doing well. I have to literally
Yeah.
beg the ones that are failing to come visit me, and they don't even sometimes.
Yeah.
For some reason, the professor is there to help you do well.
Exactly.
That's what they're there, and so it seems like you're taking you from childhood. You've been taking advantage of resources. You got models, and
Mhm.
you're not ashamed to get more models, more mentors, and take advantage of resources. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So you took advantage of resources. You studied hard, which is something that you learned, and you just kept going, created a
Mhm.
legacy for yourself. Um, but I'm sure it didn't come easy. So what were some challenges? What were some
Yeah.
challenges when you were in school? And you could tell me about both, grad school
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I I think that the first one that comes to mind and I know is not uncommon, especially for those of us who are underrepresented in the fields that we enter into. This I ran into most heavily when I got to Stanford, and it's not just being underrepresented. Stanford is a hard place, but basically, you run into the imposter syndrome. I ran into that heavy in Stanford. You're Stanford, you're surrounded by all these brilliant people from around the world. So it's oftentimes for everybody, it's the first time where you're not just the top of the class from
right.
doing the things that you figured out how to do. Suddenly you start to worry. I mean, do I even belong here? And then when on top of that, you realize you are the only black student in the PhD program. In fact, I was the second black student to graduate from the CS Stanford PhD program ever.
Ever.
I met the first. He was before me by a few generations, and so you feel this weight on top of you, and you wonder, am I here because I'm filling a quota? Am I really not supposed to be here? Um, and you just have that weight because things are hard. You know they're going to be hard. You're learning from the best. You're learning really hard stuff, and I would say that's where I really had to do battle with the
Yeah.
feelings of, um I'm not sure if I can do this, and I'm not sure if I'm here to be right, and who am I letting down?
Mm.
What is the responsibilities that I am not living up to? And it's not going to be just me. It's going to be my family, and it's going to be my race, and it's going to be my country. You have all this weight on top of you, which is not helping with the problem.
It's not.
So
It,
that
it,
was
it
a big challenge.
it's a huge challenge, and it's like we have the weight on us. It's natural because
Yes.
like it's my passion that that story ends of being the 1%. When I
Yes.
go to conferences and there are hundreds of people and like let's say there's 700 people and then there's 7 of us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, and it actually sometimes I've read papers, psychological papers, that it,
Hmm.
it, it hinders us.
It
The,
does.
the very
It
thing that
really does.
we think that, oh, we have to work even harder just to make sure that we represent ourselves and our race, and that actually, like, the mind, it puts hurt on our mind, which if our mind was freer, we would go
Yeah.
even way better than we are
Yes.
currently. But in reality, that's just the story that we face,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome, and so how did you overcome it? How did you, like, say, you know what, I belong here?
Uh-huh. I think one of the things that I consider, again, I feel like I've been fortunate throughout my life, and
Mhm.
one of the things that applies specifically to this is having a support network,
Yeah.
figuring out how to find different people and structures and organizations that I can fall back on and rely on to feel like, even when I'm not sure if this is if I can do this, I can still feel like there are people who have my back, starting with my family, of course, but finding other people at Stanford who I can share experiences with, whose experiences may be similar to mine in one way or another way. um Finding the resources in on the campus, like the career center resources, finding organizations like, there was this Caribbean Student Association that was put together. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and take part in that.
Take part in
And so you feel like, you're creating these connections. I went and started learning kung fu, which has remained with me as one of my passions throughout my life that I continue to do, and that provided a physical outlet to also deal with some of those mental challenges that you have, those emotional challenges of, I don't know if I belong here. I'm doing this, and it by expressing myself physically, I find that I'm able to deal with some of those things better. So putting together sort of these structural framework that was able to help support me doesn't mean it was easy after doing that. And there were sometimes I still wasn't sure if I was going to be able to succeed and complete it. Um, but I think with the help of those things, it made a really big difference.
absolutely. That's so empowering, and I think we need to create these more of these spaces. When I was in grad school, we had the Percy Julian Association. This is named
Mm,
after African American biochemist,
mhm.
and I joined it, and they helped train me in for my qualifying exam. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to we have we have to we have to have those spaces, and if we don't
Oh
have
yeah.
the spaces, we have to create the
We have
spaces.
to create them.
We have to reach out to people that and cultures and things that are maybe even different than
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, you went to even to Stanford, which you already took the leap to know that you're going to a place where there's going to be a whole many people who are different than you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it seems like, you know what? That's what your dad did when he moved to Puerto Rico to teach at a university
Pretty much.
there.
Yes.
I feel like you had the model to do it,
Yeah.
and there's this big thing right now with Deion Sanders, how he's going to Colorado, and everybody's mad at him for leaving it. I'm like, listen, you guys, let people move into the spaces
Yeah.
into the spaces where they want to be impactful or to make an impact, and just know we need to be a support system for them. That's what I'm hearing. You
Yes.
need But when
Yes.
people go to when you go to these graduate schools, you're going to need some kind of support. I went home
Hmm.
because mommy was cooking every weekend. I
Oh.
went to New York. I knew when I went to grad school, I needed to be supported. That's so true.
Hmm. Hmm.
That so when things get hard, you have somebody to fall back on.
Exactly.
Crucial. So tell me, what do you do now? Like, what are
Yeah.
your typical day, and what are some challenges?
Sure. So I'll start by sort of filling in the blanks from sort of Stanford to where I am, and because it kind of informs how I got to how I am where I am right now. So after Stanford, I I moved to the Midwest, where my wife was working for Procter and Gamble, and I took a job as a professor at Miami University there in Oxford, Ohio, on teaching computer science. Did that for 4 years, which was wonderful. I really love teaching. Education, of course, has always been important to me, and and Miami University is a great school. The challenge that we found was, we just had young kids. My parents were all the way on the West Coast in Walla Walla still. My in-laws were still in China at the time. My wife is Chinese. That's where the Zhang in my name comes from. And it we were very feeling very isolated. So we decided to move back to the West Coast to be closer to family, and I took the opportunity to up until that time I had been in academia all this time, whether studying or teaching. And as I mentioned, when I fell in love with computing, it was because I loved to program. And so
Got
I thought, okay, you get to do some of that in academia, but nothing like the hardcore program you get to do if you're in industry. So I thought, let me see if I can find an opportunity to get some industry experience. And so I did some applying, applied to this job at Amazon, and got accepted into this team, where they were using artificial intelligence and machine learning, to help with problems around ad placement and helping customers see things that they may want that they may not realize that they want. Sort of like, when you go on Amazon and it says, oh, people like you who have bought
that.
things like you also bought such and such. The kind of the brains behind that kind of work. That was a team I started with at Amazon. I was really interested. Throughout my career, most of my career, I've tried to stay close to artificial intelligence and machine learning, because that's where, like I said, that's where I did my focus in undergrad, and that was where my specialization passion was. So I was at Amazon for 2.5 years, and this was very much in the young days of Amazon, so they didn't have a lot of AI going on there yet.
Mm,
Um, so I looked around, and I wasn't sure that I saw a long-term career there. So I decided to try something a little different. So I took on a role at Microsoft, and was at Microsoft for 6.5 years on the Bing team, specifically, the Bing browser,
which is Google, which
the,
is like Google,
Google's
right?
competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a search engine, and I specifically worked in the local search area, which is when you ask things like, pizza near me, and it brings up this special set of responses saying, oh, here's the nearest pizzas around you, and gives you the ratings and how to get there and all that sort of thing. So I worked on that team for 6.5 years in different capacities, working on measurement, working on the back end, working on front end. Um, After a while, though, looking at Amazon. Amazon had now evolved quite a bit and had a lot of opportunities, for using AI and ML. And there's a lot of things I liked about Amazon, so I went back to Amazon, which is where I've been ever since. I've now been at Amazon for over 10 years, 10 and a half years, which is kind of amazing.
Right.
um, I I spent most of that time also as a software development engineer, again working on the intersection of machine learning and AI as a specialization in different areas. I worked on the Silk browser. Um, I worked in AWS, working on using machine learning to help in the Glue service, where you pull in data and you need to transform it before you can go and do things with it.
Okay.
Um, and we use machine learning to help clean up that data, figure out, are there
Good question.
duplicates? Yeah,
Like, so I've been looking into artificial intelligence and machine
yeah.
learning for a little bit, and I'm still struggling in understanding the difference. I know artificial intelligence is Well, you please tell me what's the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning?
Sure. Of course, there are probably multiple answers out there, but I'll tell you what my religious belief is because it is a religion. No, basically, you can think of machine learning as a special area of more the broader artificial intelligence. So
Okay.
artificial intelligence is how do we get computers, machines to do a lot of the things that we do as humans that we believe require intelligence. So learning from our experience is one of those things that we do, and being able to act on those experiences, one of the things we do really well as humans. So machine learning kind of covers a lot of what goes with that, the efforts to make getting computers to learn from data and then do the right thing or do something that's useful with that. It turns out that machine learning has been one of the most successful branches of artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, you have other things like how do I gather knowledge? You have things like how do I move in the world? So robotics is kind of this,
Robotics.
and there's
Part of it. Okay.
is an intersection between machine learning and robotics, of course, but it's got a lot more than just the learning part. You have speech comprehension, and conversation in general, which also uses a lot of machine learning these days. You've got a lot of planning. How do you plan based on given some constraints? How do I come up with a way to figure out how to optimize how a million trucks should deliver products around the world? That's kind of like an
Mm,
Amazon problem, right?
mhm, mhm.
That's another part of artificial intelligence, something that humans do well. So AI is very broad. Machine learning is this big subfield that has been very successful and has also has provided solutions to many of the other subfields of AI as well.
Got you. So machine learning is a subfield of artificial
Yes.
intelligence. And wow, that's amazing. So you've been working in AI and machine learning for 16 years, it seems. You
For
said
for
10
for, for
years,
about for about 15 years. And
15
the reason why those don't quite add up is um 2.5 3 years, almost 3 years now. 3 years ago, I got to a point where I was burnt out.
Mm,
I've been in the field of doing software development with AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning for a very long time. But it's not a walk in the park. And it's not especially in a place like Amazon where we have a reputation for people. After 3 years, I'm done. It's a challenging environment, and so I myself burnt out. But it wasn't just the burning out from the work. I was also more importantly, I was feeling like, the work that I'm doing, I'm managing to tackle two big parts, two big passions of mine. Computer science has always been a passion, computing, and education has always been a passion. And I've continued to teach when I have opportunities throughout the years, even while I'm in industry. And then but there's this third component, which is social justice, which I was not seeing as part of what I was doing in work, and that was becoming more important for me to integrate into what I did. So I stepped back, and I was able to take a 3-month sabbatical from my work to just focus in on this question of, are there opportunities out there that bring these three together? Anything in the intersection of education, computer science, or technology more generally, and social justice. I interviewed multiple organizations in the Seattle area, asking them about what they did, that were in this space, and in that process, discovered Amazon Future Engineer right in my Amazon backyard, which is corporate social responsibility organization within Amazon that is dedicated to helping make computer science education and careers accessible to all students, especially those from underserved and underrepresented communities,
wow.
from childhood to career. And I'm like, wow, this is right. This is exactly what I want to be doing, even though I'm not coding so much. And that's where I started transferring my career more into research science. There was an
Science.
opportunity to lead our research and evaluation that sets the foundation for the work that we do in this area. And because of my backgrounds in academia, as well as in industry, as well as a practitioner, engineer, as well as as being a practitioner of color and having all of these together, it was a perfect place for me to come in and bring that experience to bear, to be able to help us figure out what's the right things to do that will have the most impact on these students, so they can have experiences like I have had, and opportunities like I have been fortunate enough to have. And that is what I've been doing for the last 2.5, 3 years, and it's been very fulfilling.
Oh my gosh, you've been in my backyard doing my
I know, it's crazy.
thing that I want to do. Phenomenal, and I didn't even know this. This is crazy. Oh my goodness. And I'm happy that there's that medium there at that institution that you could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Wow, 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 wow. So you would you say the challenge was the fact that you were burnt out, not doing your
yeah.
passion? That was,
Yes,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that that
yeah,
was that was a really big challenge. And to be
yeah,
honest, I've now fixed the most important part of it, which is the career part of it.
yeah,
There are still aspects like the being able to effectively manage that work-life balance, especially in a place where quality and the customer and many of these other things and innovation are so valued. It makes it very hard to maintain that balance and still do well. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. um and so I'm coming to a point in my life that some of the things that I used to be able to do, like just burn the midnight oil, do all nighters all the time, to get past my natural ability to get things done, no longer work for me. I'm getting to an age where my body's just saying, no, figure out some other way, or or this is not working. And
yeah,
so there's still a lot of learning I'm doing there for how to maintain a sustainable work-life balance and still do well by my customers, the students who I'm trying to help serve on. And that continues to be a challenge that I'm learning about.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that's a common um thing once we start getting well into our careers, work
Yeah,
life balance and
yeah.
doing what we're passionate about and what really really matters. All right, well, last question. Last question.
All right.
What's your favorite part of your career?
This may sound a little corny, but maybe very obvious given the story so far. I feel so lucky to be able to be doing a job where I'm bringing my skills to bear on on a community I care so much about. I feel so it's I mean, everything I've done has been, I feel, important in some way, and has helped people. I like Amazon's perspective of being customer centric. I think that's a really important thing, to be working backwards from what is it that the people who we are doing this for need and want. But when that's talking about bringing equitable access to students from my community and other communities like mine, that just takes it to another level where you feel like, yeah, the stuff that I'm doing really makes a difference that will go beyond what I can even see, just knowing my own personal experience. And that is something that, day to day, it's unequaled in that joy that it brings.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's not you've done multi thing. My mother was like, "You're multi gifted. You've put your foot in multiple things. You were engineer. You're a software developer. You work for Microsoft. You work for Amazon. You were in artificial intelligence. But with all of that, it's really about what gives you drive and your why and your purpose and how
Yeah.
you can impact others, and that is such an amazing 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 story. There were a few people watching and they didn't have any questions for you,
Okay.
and that's very much normal. I'm just so grateful to see what you are doing,
Thank you.
and to know that there is a model out there for a young kid who like you wants to tinker with their tablet, somebody's tablet. It's not a big
Mhm.
chunky IBM machine anymore.
Yeah.
It's a little phone probably. It's a little
Uh-huh.
phone, but isn't that amazing that this phone
It blows my mind.
this is probably have more power than that IBM machine that you worked
It
with?
definitely does. It's just mind boggling.
what I'm gonna close now, but I have a question. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Where do you think computers are going in
Oh,
the
that's a great
future?
question. I I'm really interested to know. I mean, of course, I have certain biases. I do because of my interests. Um, I think artificial intelligence in general is going to continue to to change the way we think about computing. And I think we probably need to be very smart about how we continue to jump into that pot of fire, because it could go ways where it gets out of our control. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there. The things that we are able to do with machine learning in particular these days, and when you combine that with what we're able to do with the advances in hardware and computing infrastructure in general, in bringing those two big sets of amazing discoveries together, uh, I suspect we're going to see things that we can't even imagine right now.
We're gonna see things we can't imagine. We can't even. I really believe that.
It's yeah,
We're gonna see things we can't
it's so
imagine.
exciting.
Yeah, and so we want to kid our kids. I believe it's the future. I believe
Yeah.
data analytics, machine learning, like I've totally transitioned my research. It's purely data, database. Like I
Mm-hmm.
take
Mm-hmm.
information from the database from the National Institute of Health.
Yeah.
I have my students get thousands of cancer
Yeah.
people who had thousands of people from 1975 till now who have
Yeah.
prostate cancer, black men, and
Yeah.
we're seeing things happen. We're seeing disparities.
Yes. The patterns and the
We're seeing patterns using computers.
yes.
It's basically they're not in a lab. They have access to a computer and they have free access to the database, and we have students that have the ability to do high level cancer research
It's
from
amazing.
their computer
Yeah.
at a community college. That's
Yes.
unheard of. That would be unheard of 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
But because of the freedom of the computer and the information age and databases, we have access, y'all.
Yes.
I want
Yeah.
the people need to understand that
Realize. Yeah.
we have access like never before.
And
Yeah,
that's what excites me, is that yes, we have a lot of systemic barriers that we face in these fields,
for sure.
but with the way technology is moving, we also have systemic opportunities that if we can grab onto them and figure out how to maximally leverage them, there's nothing we can't do.
I'm gonna end that here. I am the phenomenal chemist, and so is he. Thank you so much, Pedrito.
Thank you so much for having me, Maya.
Good
It's been a
evening,
pleasure.
everyone.